طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير داع صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير داع صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Welcome to all of you in the history of the first graduation of the Islamic Seminary of America. Today is a historic moment. It is our first inaugural graduation ceremony. And today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to have a very active, fun-filled event. But I want to begin first and foremost with that which is the holiest of the holy, and that is the recitation of the Qur'an. So I ask our student Ifdal Yusuf from the class of 2025 to come and recite some Qur'an. Brother Ifdal, bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويسألونك عن الجبال فقل ينسفها ربي نسفا فيذرها قاعا صفصفا ويسألونك عن الجبال فقل ينسفها ربي نسفا فيذرها قاعا صفصفا لا ترى فيها عوجا ولا أمتا يومئذ يتبعون الداعي لا عوج له وخشعت الأصوات للرحمن فلا تسمع إلا همسا وخشعت الأصوات للرحمن فلا تسمع إلا همسا يومئذ لا تنفع الشفاعة إلا من أذن له الرحمن ورضي له قولا يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون به علما وعنت الوجوه للحي القيوم وقد خاب من حمل ظلما ومن يعمل من الصالحات وهو مؤمن فلا يخاف ظلما ولا هضما وكذلك أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا وصرفنا فيه من الوعيد لعلهم يتقون أو يحدث لهم ذكرا فتعالى الله الملك الحق ولا تعجل بالقرآن من قبل أن يقضى إليك وحيه وقل رب زدني علما صدق الله العظيم.
Once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Our esteemed Executive Vice President, our honored board members, our faculty, the proud parents and family, our esteemed guests, and most importantly, the graduating class of 2024. It is my incredible honor to stand before you today as we celebrate this significant milestone in your lives. For most of you, perhaps even all of you, this is the very first time that you are attaining a master's degree in the humanities and Islamic studies. You're diving into the world of academia. And together, for the last 3, 4, 5 years, we have explored such deep, interesting, intriguing topics. We brought forth some of the most awkward questions. We have attempted to solve some of the most ancient problems in our faith. And alhamdulillah, we kept on crossing one bridge after another, climbing one hill after another. And here we are, after all of these years, and alhamdulillah, we have reached a pinnacle. As you look back on your own journeys, it is a moment of reflection, of gratitude. And you wonder, how could I have achieved all of this? And you're standing on this pinnacle, and there should be a sense of humility, a sense of pride, a sense of shukr. But I'm going to also remind you that this should not be the final hill that you conquer. This should not be the last mountain that you climb. Dare I say that ahead of you lies even more exciting mountains. Dare I say that graduation should never be the end of a book. It is simply the end of a chapter. And you still have many more chapters of your book of life to write. And those chapters are going to be just as exciting, maybe even more so than the one that you have just finished. So today, as we celebrate this milestone, I want to share with all of you 3 pieces of advice that I hope inshallah ta'ala will inspire myself and all of you as we continue down this journey. These 3 pieces, I myself have heard them from my teachers, and I have tried my best to inculcate them in you, and I try my best to live my own life by them. First and foremost, never stop learning. Doesn't matter what degrees you have, what courses you've taken, what lectures you've heard, knowledge is infinite. As one of our scholars of the past said, knowledge is an ocean that has no shores. Knowledge is an ocean that has no shores. And the deeper you go in that boat trying to find knowledge, the more you appreciate the depths of the ocean. The more you appreciate those shores cannot ever be finally reached and found. And so, constantly engage in scholarship. Constantly be curious. Constantly ask questions. Never stop learning. You're all familiar with the famous quotes of the scholars of the past. When one of them was asked, when are you going to stop learning? How much is knowledge? And he said, knowledge is going to be from the cradle to the grave. Min al-mahdi ila al-lahd. And another scholar was asked, Imam Ahmad was asked, when will you close your ink pot? When are you going to stop taking notes? He said, when I enter Jannah is when I'm going to stop my ink pot from ever writing again. This is the attitude that we should all have. Embrace the opportunities to learn. Constantly be curious. You all know the famous anecdote of Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah ta'ala, in which he did Hajj and he was exasperated, frustrated, hungry, tired, and the last thing on his mind was to learn anything. And he famously remarked later on that the barber that shaved my hair, I learned from him 5 benefits I didn't learn from anybody else in the world. And he listed them one after the other. That barber who was never a trained scholar, didn't know anything, but he taught me 5 things that nobody else ever taught me. You should realize our scholars of the past understood this. Every single person has something to teach you if only you're willing to learn. Every human being has experiences, has wisdoms, has profundities that are beyond our understandings. And if we're willing to learn, then life becomes a constant learning process. And of course, to my students, you all know, once you've popped out of the 1D and 2D models, once you've really done your deep dive into the 3D models, there is no going back. And so, pursue, be curious, ask, read. Knowledge is a lifelong pursuit. Knowledge is the cleanest addiction you can possibly have. And knowledge is an addiction. Knowledge is the purest and best addiction you can have. And I hope, insha'Allah ta'ala, that you have tasted the sweetness of that halal addiction. My second advice to myself and all of you is that all that praise of knowledge is great and it's true, but knowledge is never an end goal in and of itself. We never learn simply for the sake of regurgitating facts. We never learn simply for the sake of impressing an audience. No. We all know, you study this with me, you study with multiple teachers. We all know ilm and amal come from the same 3 letters for a reason. We all know knowledge and activities, action, are from the exact same 3 letters. Allah Azza wa Jal chose those 3 letters to indicate the 2 are intertwined. Ilm and amal need to go together. And so my second advice to myself and all of you is that knowledge is indeed necessary, but the fruit of knowledge is activity and action. The fruit of knowledge is to give back to your community based upon that knowledge. And so, volunteer, teach, be involved, engage. Do not simply read and read and read in your library, even though, believe me, I would love to do so myself. Don't just become that academic in the ivory towers. That's not what we need, and that's not what the purpose of knowledge is. Find ways to contribute to your community. We all have different passions. We all have different aspirations. What exactly do you want to do? Based on the knowledge that you have, now go and find what you're passionate about. All of you at this stage should already have some idea of what you want to do, and then go and contribute. Volunteer, mentor, teach, get involved, become involved in your masajid, in your communities, in your Sunday schools, whatever it might be. And as you do this, you will realize, and I know many of you already do, you will realize that there is no nobility in life that is more noble than ennobling other people's lives. There is no happiness that is better than bringing happiness to other people. And this is something we learn from the Qur'an, from the Sunnah, from the Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who, when he was asked, who is the best of all the people? He said, the best of all people are the ones who benefit the most people. The best of all people are those who benefit people. So go ahead and benefit people. Go ahead and find a mechanism in which your knowledge can be translated into action. That is the purpose of knowledge. And this is what the entire Qur'an is about. You don't just sit there, Ya ayyuhal muddathir qum fa'anzir. Once you have your knowledge, go stand up and go and do something based upon that knowledge. And so my second advice is contribute. Your scholarship needs to be translated into action, into activity. And what that activity is, the sky's the limit. That's the beauty of our faith. There's so many things to do. Find your passion, find your voice, and with that knowledge, contribute back and give and make your society a better place. And the third and final advice I have for today, and you've heard me say this multiple times, don't shortchange yourself in your own ambitions and visions and dreams. Go ahead and daydream the most grandiose daydream you can possibly imagine. Go ahead and situate yourself 20, 30, 40 years down and ask yourselves, when I come to that age of 70, 80, whatever it might be, if Allah gives me that life, what would I want to have accomplished? Have that vision. and then multiply it by 10, by 100, by 1,000. Go ahead and create these grandiose visions, because Allah wants us to leave that legacy. Allah says in the Qur'an, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُم. We shall resurrect the dead, and we will write down all they have sent forward and what they have left behind. What is your legacy that you leave behind? What have you left behind of construction, of actual affecting the lives of people, of influencing people? What is your thought legacy, activity legacy? What have you actually accomplished? Allah is saying, I'm going to write it all down. All that you've sent forward, your ibadat, your rituals, your sadaqah, and all that you've left behind. وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُم. And the Prophet Ibrahim famously made dua to Allah, وَاجْعَلْ لِي لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Some of our scholars interpreted this to mean that, Ibrahim is saying, oh Allah, give me a positive legacy that later generations remember me by. We should aim to establish that legacy. You're all familiar with the anecdote I give almost every year to my students, so you've heard this from me directly. Those in the audience who might hear it for the first time. 20, 30 years, 25 years ago, when I was studying at the University of Medina, and we were doing one of the books of Sunan Abi Dawood, and that famous hadith comes in the Sunan of Abi Dawood, in which the Prophet ﷺ said, every 100 years, Allah will send one person to rejuvenate the ummah, to revive the ummah. Our teacher paused, he looked at us, I was sitting in the audience, and he said, what's the question you all have? So I raised my hand and said, Shaykh, the question is, who's that guy of our times? Who's that person? I want to know who that person is. And the Shaykh said, Ya Yasir, that's your failure already. You've already given up and assumed somebody else will be that person. Why couldn't you aspire and make dua to Allah that, oh Allah, make me amongst those people? You already gave up. And so that really had a profound impact on me. And I hope, inshallah, that it has the same impact on you. Don't pass the buck. Don't assume somebody else can do it. Allah blessed you with health, wisdom, iman, intelligence. Allah gave you the tools He's given every other human being and more. So why are you shortchanging yourself? Why are you putting yourself in a position that Allah hasn't put you in? Aim for the highest. Imagine you might be the next Ibn Taymiyyah, Imam al-Bukhari, Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi. All of them, when they were born, did they know what they would become? Did Salah ad-Din know he's going to be the one conquering Jerusalem when he was 10, when he was 20? No. But that's what you do. You make your vision and you keep on striving and striving and striving. And even if you don't get to your actual vision, well, since you've made your vision so high, you're going to go extremely far. And that is where our success lies. So, fellow students of mine, graduates, as you step into this new chapter of your lives, I remind you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tasked you with the responsibility to make not only the best of yourselves, but the best of your environments and situations. Embrace lifelong learning. Find nobility in the service to others. And in all of this, aim to establish the biggest and the grandest and the greatest legacy that you possibly can. And on a personal note, as your dean and as a teacher to all of you, I want to say, and this is not just speech, it is genuinely from the heart, that teaching you all has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life, one of the biggest honors for me. A good teacher needs good students. A good teacher needs good students. Students to challenge, students to push back, students to raise the bar, students to force the teacher to constantly learn himself over and over again. And so, in that regards, I couldn't be more proud of all of you than I am today to call all of you my students, and it is my genuine honor to participate today in sharing this joyous occasion with you. Class of 2024, Mabruk, Mubarak. May Allah bless all of you in your journey ahead. May you continue to grow and shine and exemplify the values of the Islamic Seminary. May you make your family, your classmates, your teachers, and your religion proud for all that you have accomplished. May you continue to rise higher and higher and leave the greatest legacy imaginable. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair. Before I move on to the next stage, of course, there is a very special prize that I have to give out, because every single year I have been tasked to choose one student from every single batch to be given the Dean's Prize. And the Dean's Prize is a prize that symbolizes for me all of the values of the Islamic Seminary, faith-based academics. And for me, how I choose that student is I look at where the student was when they began with our program and where they ended up. And I look at that curve and how they got there. For me, the larger that curve, the more it indicates the sacrifice, the more it indicates the curiosity, the more it indicates that steep learning curve that those students had to undergo. And of course, I have to choose one. I wish I could, wallahi, I wish I could to all of you. Wallahi, I say this honestly, but I have to choose one. Some of you came in, mashallah, already having memorized the Qur'an, already having studied Islamic studies, and that's great. May Allah bless all of you. But some of you came in with absolutely no understanding of classical Islam. And to see from where you were to where you are now, and to see you struggle, not just at the madrasa level, not just at the undergraduate level, not just at your standard graduate level, but at our 3D, complicated Islamic seminary level, which is unique in the whole world, and you know this. To see from where to where, then I must say, alhamdulillah, really the sense of pride and joy and happiness. It is my genuine honor to announce the winner of 2023's Dean Prize for the Islamic Studies, and that is Sister Fatima Rizvi. The winner of 2024's Dean's Prize is Sister Nosheen Khan. You're going to move up here, I guess. Yes. Okay, here we go.
Assalamu alaikum. So I was asked to speak today on what TISA has meant to me, and I thought this is great. I have so much to say about this. I love TISA. And then they told me I have 3 minutes to do this. So we're going to see how this goes. I remember being an undergraduate in the political science department, no less, and coming to the realization that even saying the word Palestine was taboo. Forget about any kind of logical argument in support of it. So this shift that we're seeing in American public opinion on Palestine, to me, in my eyes, is nothing short of a miracle. We now have to consider who we are in this moment in time. Are we ready to be ambassadors of Islam the way that Allah wants us to be? TISA came into my life exactly 4.5 years ago in January of 2020. And it taught me, above all else, to not be a reactionary, to pause, to mute the world around me for a minute and gain a strong foothold in the Islamic tradition first, in order to then be able to go back effectively and help those in the world around me. We can only hope to bring the light of our beautiful tradition to all those who are so desperately seeking a connection to divine light, whether they are our fellow Muslims or non-Muslims. But without the proper knowledge to do this, we won't be able to fulfill this obligation. We've all heard the saying that knowledge is power. But we should take a minute to consider its corollary, that there is weakness in ignorance. And this weakness can take many forms. It can look like being unable to answer a question that's critical of Islam, for example. Or it can look like an inability to address our own doubts and questions. In either case, TISA has forced some level of this ignorance out of us, and I am grateful for this. Thank you to all my professors and all the faculty and staff at TISA for being those guiding lights for us, because you have been guiding lights in the truest sense. Dr. Jones, Professor Alouche, Imam Hamza, the insights that you taught us in our class on Islam in America have been re-released into the world when I had the opportunity to teach the autobiography of Malcolm X at UT Austin this past spring, to a class that was primarily non-Muslim. Dr. Gray, the article that you wrote on the vast spectrum within which the ideal Muslim women can exist, as portrayed through the Qur'an, was shared with my students, who, once again, were not Muslim. Dr. Lowe, I was asked an incredibly difficult question on marriage and women in Islamic history, and I was only able to answer it as you had taught me. And finally, Shaykh Yasir Qadhi, when I first arrived at TISA, I was filled to bursting with questions, but my questions couldn't even be articulated because of my lack of knowledge. I had questions about why we believe certain things to be true. Where does the idea, for example, that everything that happens to us is good come from? I lacked, at the time, the tools to know that this is the field of Islamic theology. This is an almost embarrassing confession, but it's the truth. So, Shaykh Yasir, thank you for broadening my horizons with as much depth as only you could have done. Jazakallah khair to all my professors, to my fellow graduates and classmates, to all of our families and loved ones, and to everyone at TISA for all that you have done for us. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I failed my first class at TISA. And I got a B on an introduction to myself, the first semester at TISA. And had you asked me that first semester if I would be standing here graduating, I would have said there's no way I'm going to get out of this with a diploma or alive or anything that resembled any kind of victory. But my time at TISA has been the most transformative thing in my life. And the curriculum, coupled with debate and discussion, challenged me to broaden my perspectives and has left me humble and acknowledging what I don't know. I felt compelled at TISA more than any other time in my life to learn for myself, to study for my own benefit, to answer the question that's been grinding in the back of my brain, and to come to know something a little bit more about why I'm here. The guidance and mentorship of our esteemed faculty has been invaluable. Their wisdom, their dedication, all of it has just been unwavering support for us as students. Beyond academics, TISA, the Islamic Seminary of America, has been a community where lifelong friendships have been made, where we've forged bonds with people who we're going to look to as our comrades in helping Islam in America and Islam in the world. TISA has in many ways also been the response to my wife's dua for me. And so after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my first thanks and gratitude goes to my wife, who pushed me every step of the way, who watched the kids and took care of the kids and even sat with me on classes. I know that's not allowed, but she did it anyway. And we would debate and talk and discuss so many things that I was learning at TISA. And so after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I thank my wife for supporting me through this journey. TISA, as Shaykh Yasir has said, this is the end of one chapter. And TISA has pushed me to realize how many chapters I have to write, how many chapters I still have to fulfill just to be okay with what I've learned with TISA, just to be bare minimum gratitude, giving gratitude to what I learned from my professors. And it's a big vision to fill, it's a big hole that we still have to fill, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help in carrying on what we need to. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guiding me and keeping me patient through TISA. It was not easy. I would like to thank Dr. Jones for being so supportive and loving with all of us. And I've never had a teacher who made me want to keep coming back to class, even though it was scary sometimes. Whoever made me want to keep coming back to class and to do better every time I left. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and preserve you, Dr. Jones. Thank you to the rest of the faculty, staff, families, and supporters of TISA. You have been instrumental in our journey. Thank you to my classmates, to my colleagues, my lifelong friends. The Islamic Seminary of America will always hold a special place in my heart because of my memories with all of you. May we continue to strive for excellence and make a positive impact on the world. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ayub, calm down, Baba. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah ma ba'd. I'm honored to be here in this wonderful, blessed presence in front of all of you. I'm humbled to receive something like this, and I'm full of gratitude for our wonderful professors and teachers that taught us, and the staff and everybody and the fellow students. I know the camaraderie that we had with our students was invaluable. That added to the experience that I think would have been very dull and not enriching otherwise. So alhamdulillah for that. For me, when I think of TISA, it reminds me and it feels like family in the sense of the mentorship that we had from the teachers and the professors. We had family, the camaraderie among the fellow students as well. And it makes us, subhanAllah, appreciative of all of those relationships and insights that we gathered. And I think it well embodies the vision that TISA aspires to achieve, which is something unique, not only in America, but in the world. Like Shaykh Yasir said, this idea of thinking in 3 dimensions now when it comes to Islam and Islamic studies and how we practice in the world, I think is something groundbreaking, and truly the sky is the limit. Now we have to, there's a burden of responsibility that I feel, and I know my fellow students feel this as well, this isn't nowhere near the end. In fact, this is the beginning of a lot that we have to, inshallah ta'ala, accomplish and achieve. And not only for us, but for the entire ummah. You guys have seen the current genocide and the war and everything that's going on. What we do here has repercussions over there, whether we realize it or not. And what we embody here will affect not only them, but it'll affect the entire ummah. And we have to, when we think on an ummah scale and apply within our own lives, inshallah ta'ala, this is when we can see that change happening. The house that I grew up in Gaza, and the house that I grew up in has been demolished by the occupation. We've lost many members of our close family, but I know that it's affected all of us. It hasn't just affected me because it's close to me or it's affected me personally. It's affected the entire ummah, and I know that we share in their pain, which is why when I think of what I can do for them, for our family, right? I keep on going back to this idea of family. 2 days ago, my father's uncle passed away in Egypt. But the thing is, he was a refugee essentially in Egypt. He was in Gaza for a long time. He had to relocate. He was in Rafah for a while, and then alhamdulillah we finally got him out. He's in his 80s, and he was living alone and in Egypt, and he passed away. He's essentially a victim of the current genocide without actually being registered as a victim. He wasn't died in a bombing or anything else, and there's so many other people like this. And so when you realize that there's layers to the conflict, there's also layers in the solution. And the solution we might think that we're far removed from the solution, but wallahi we're not. And inshallah ta'ala, once I think the entire ummah realizes this, that we all have a part to play, even if we think that there's nothing that it can do, you still have to do something. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accepts from us, all of us, Ya Rabbil Alameen, our good deeds, and that He guides us to that which is best. Again, I'm thankful and grateful for the entire TISA family and the student body family as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all and protect us all, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and bring about His victory soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. While acknowledging that thousands of students will not get to graduate and pursue their dreams in Gaza, Sudan, and other oppressed communities of the world, I am grateful for this opportunity to celebrate this. The culmination of years of dedication, perseverance, and pursuit of knowledge at the Islamic Seminary of America. Alhamdulillah. Reflecting on our time here with all of the students and teachers, I am reminded of a couplet by Allama Iqbal, Azadi afkar se hai unki tabahi, rakhte nahi jo fikro tadabbur ka salika, which translates to their ruin is in the freedom of thought, those who do not possess the skill of reflection and contemplation. This powerful message underscores the importance of critical thinking and reflection in our pursuit of knowledge. It is a reminder that true intellectual freedom comes with the responsibility to think deeply and reflect sincerely on our beliefs and actions. Here at TISA, tradition is made relevant for our times while aspiring to produce transformative but ethical leaders who can rise to the challenges of modern times. Upholding the values of our religion so that Islam may seamlessly take its rightful place in the public sphere and also in the world. This journey has not been easy. It has been filled with countless hours of studying, engaging in thought-provoking discussions, and sometimes facing challenging questions that tested our understanding and resolve. In fact, I do not remember missing a single class because I loved the nuanced conversations and thoughtful reflections and considerations. Yet it is through these very challenges that we have grown both intellectually and spiritually. Our esteemed teachers have been essential in this journey. They have imparted not just knowledge, but wisdom and taught us to approach our studies with humility, sincerity, and openness. Their dedication to our success is a testament to their unwavering commitment to preserving and disseminating Islamic knowledge. TISA may seem like just another seminary, but let me assure you, it is not. Its goal is to instill students, us, with Islamic knowledge, critical thinking, Islamic character, while integrating modernity with traditional knowledge through diverse teaching approaches and experienced instructors. We are deeply grateful for their guidance and mentorship. I'm also very grateful for the connections and friendships I have gained and the support that I have received from my fellow schoolmates and especially from my teachers. I know that journey does not end here. It is a step towards continuing to seek knowledge, grow in our faith, and serve humanity and our communities with the values and principles that are in line with the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom we all aspire to emulate. May Allah liberate the oppressed communities, especially Palestinians and many, many others, and bless our endeavors with success and barakah. May we become the true ambassadors of our faith, promoting justice, compassion, and understanding. Ameen. Jazakallah khairan, and congratulations to all of the fellow graduates. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. What has TISA meant to me? A lot. Too much. But if I had to say 3 words, it'll be easy to remember because they all start with the letter C. Competence, camaraderie, and custodianship. TISA demonstrated, not just taught, but demonstrated what it means to be competent. All of our teachers, you've heard it from the students already, but I'm gonna add on how our teachers constantly step up to the plate and they demonstrate what it means to be competent. And they taught us what it means to be incompetent. You know, throughout the whole 3 years that I was there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed, all of us, I think we would say this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us as students at TISA. You'd find the dean, Shaykh Yasir, going all over the world. Whether it was the earthquakes in Syria, in Turkey, he was there on the grounds, raising funds, bringing awareness. In the recent times, you find him This is right after the classes are over. He's at the campuses. He's at Harvard. He's at Yale. He's at all of these campuses, encouraging the students, keep on doing what you're doing. In camp, raise your voice, speak truth to power. If you go into the archives, it's not like they just recently started doing this. Dr. Jones is someone who's been speaking up against abuse of power. His own son was killed by police. You can go on YouTube and you can find his speech about all lives matter. And leadership starts, competence starts with the self. Leadership starts with the self. And Shaykh Tamara taught us about spiritual formation, how to mold oneself so that we can become in tune with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qadr in irada. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires from us. And she had an entire, ibadah schedule etched out for us that we had to try to follow. I couldn't do half of that. And then what baffled me was one of my classmates, she was a student of hers from before in Rabata. And she told me, that's her schedule. She does this and more. TISA means competence. Camaraderie. SubhanAllah, you stole the word from me, Shaykh Anwar. Each and every one of the graduates here, I can tell you something that they did that helped propel me forward, that built me. Even the ones in the audience. Shaykh Anwar, he has a conference in Memphis Islamic Center. He invited me out. I'm a nobody, and I'm wondering, what am I going to talk about? I've never spoken at a conference. But subhanAllah, that was a moment for me to mold and shape and speak. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that happen through Shaykh Anwar. I can talk about how Fatima in the group chats, she would always encourage. Sometimes I send being a fledgling, one of the youngest students, sometimes I send out a comment, no one responds, and then Fatima jumps on and she says, Rifat, that's awesome. Encouraging me. Sheikh Eugene, just today, he was helping organize, put on the robe and everything. I didn't know how to this is my first graduation that I've actually attended. Omar, Nosheen, all of you, I have 3 minutes, so I can't go into details, but all of you, mashallah, Manu, Ifdal, everyone has played a role. And so TISA means camaraderie. And last but not least, custodianship. All of our teachers have gone above and beyond outside of the classroom, beyond the classroom. And I know some of the teachers, they can't give as much time. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could increase their hours, I know they would be there. So I don't bug them. But some of them are there for you. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested me with being an imam. One of our community members, he lost his father recently. Allah yarhamhu. And may Allah give the family sabrun jameel. During that difficult time, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with what we learned at TISA, I was able to call up Dr. Jones and say, hey, Dr. Jones, you've already taught us this stuff, but theory is one thing and practical is another. I'm here at the hospital. What do I say? What do I do? And he coached me along the way. He said, just listen. Just listen to what they need, what the family needs, and be there. This is the custodianship of our teachers. TISA means competence, camaraderie, and custodianship. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this amazing blessing of being a student here. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing of having family members and community members who supported me. My parents, my wife, my extended family, my in-laws, all of you have done so much to sacrifice time that I could have been spending with you. You gave that time up so that I can do this. Community members, you guys stepped up whenever I couldn't fill in my role as an imam. You guys volunteered in places where you didn't have to. I thank the classmates for all that you've done. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this amazing gift and blessing. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. جزاك الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And to all of our distinguished faculty, staff, students, all of our guests, welcome, thank you. And as we have all been reminded, get to it. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. With every new endeavor, there's a time where we have to find ourselves facing a choice that we have to make. Do we give just enough of ourselves to satisfy the basic expectations of whatever venture that we find ourselves in, or whatever thing that we're doing, field or whatever? And when we're confronted with this choice, myself personally, I usually take comfort from the words of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, "Inna Allah ta'ala yuhibbu idha amila ahadukum amalan ayutkina." And this is surely or truly Allah Most High loves when one of you performs the act that he perfects it. And by these words, with these words, I have always strived to live by his advice, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I always seek to apply my best in whatever it is that I do. And as with my fellow students, I have to thank my family who's not here with me, they're in Ghana, but the rest of my family who supported me throughout this journey, because I took a full load and I had a full-time job when I started with this, so it was a lot. And then also my teachers were very understanding because I was in Africa for the majority of the time that I was studying with TISA, so I would miss a lot of the weekend sessions, so I had to do extra assignments to get caught up. And then they also had to deal with the lights out and all of that stuff that we don't have to go on in our other countries. But at the same time, there was a intense desire within myself to continue with what I was doing because of these words of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Itqan is the word that we're looking at, and understanding how perfection, or seeking to perfect whatever it is that we do, putting our best foot forward, knowing that we're not going to be perfect, but doing our best to be as best as we can be, and always striving to make sure that we improve every day afterwards. So while doing this and studying at TISA, I've cultivated a deeper understanding of the dictates and expectations of my Lord, my Prophet, and my Deen. And this is in relation to my actions and surroundings as a teacher and mentor of people, because I've been blessed to be able to do so for most of my life as a Muslim. And I've also found a renewed sense of responsibility to find creative ways to use my talents and serve my community and provide myself and my work with independence from the outside influences that could always tarnish our quest for the akhirah, while simultaneously upholding our responsibilities within the dunya. Because as we know, sometimes we can get distracted, and the akhirah efforts causes our dunya to suffer, and then likewise, and the vice versa. And particularly, this can be not a good thing if you have families to take care of and other things that you have to do, because we weren't just put here to be hermits. We have to engage with the world. So I want to, above all, say, as for what TISA has allowed for me to benefit from, is it reminds me of the necessary nature of the actions that I must do in order to bring about perfection within whatever realm of influence that I have, whether it's my family or my community. And Dr. Jones is standing, that's my cue. Inshallah, I'll speak with you all later. May Allah bless you all. May Allah bless the staff and the faculty of TISA and all of its students. And may He allow us all to find tawfiq in whatever it is that we're trying to do in our lives. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So you're seeing history being made. TISA has 10 community-based scholarships, which we initiated as a way of doing two things. One, to certify people like Eugene, and also to build capacity in organizations like TABA. If you go to our website, you'll see 10 of them. And so we wanted to mark this historic first graduate from these 10 organizations by presenting this Community Partner Scholarship Award to Eugene Abdul Muhammad Priester. Will Board Vice Chair Dr. Abdul-Halim Kandakar please come to the stage? I know this is a surprise to you, Dr. Kandakar. Dr. Kandakar, I like alliteration like Rifat does. It's 3 C's. He's our biggest cheerleader. He's a board member. I've worked in nonprofit sector for a long time, and he's one of the people who makes this organization go. He doesn't like to be in the spotlight. He hates being up here. That's why we didn't tell him about it. So he's the biggest cheerleader. He's also one of our biggest contributors. You know, he puts his money where his mouth is. And I would note on behalf of Sister Colonna, he's also our biggest cross-examiner when we come to board meetings. And that just shows that he's serious about doing this job. And so we want to present to him a Visionary Leadership Award for his outstanding support for TISA's vision, mission, values, granted on this 24th day of Dhul Qa'dah in the year 1445. And we love you, and we appreciate having you. So as the person who helps run this organization from day to day, I have a couple of acknowledgments, and to move on to, want to acknowledge the fact that Dr. Robert Hunt from SMU, who actually was with Sheikh Yasir and I in the first group in 2016 when we started. He wanted to be here, but his power has been out for 4 days, and he's not well. But SMU, he wanted to represent SMU. We have the executive director of Column Institute, Brother Asakul Haq, who's with us today, and we have Dr. Dawood Nasimi, who's a former student of mine, by the way, but he leads the Qur'an Institute at Adams Center, and he wanted to be here. He had to come, again, the weather coming from the East Coast to be here, it just, I mean, I'm choked up at the kind of support that we get inside and outside of this organization. So this year's President's Award is given to Dr. Izzeldin Abu-Leish for his important contributions to humanity. I met Dr. Izzeldin Abu-Leish in March of 2005 when I was introduced to him when we were part of an international peacemaking effort between Jews and Muslims here and abroad. I tried to visit him in Gaza in February 2007. They weren't letting us in then, but I was turned away at the border. He wrote a book in 2010 called I Shall Not Hate, which I really recommend everybody read. We have copies here. You can get copies if you donate to TISA, and Dr. Abu-Leish has graciously agreed to autograph them after this program. I don't know what to say. I mean, when I think about Gaza, I cry, because I'm ashamed that I pay taxes, and I'm part of a country that's part of what's happening to these people. You know, it's because they're Muslim, yes, but because they're human beings. I don't understand how human beings can do this to babies and people who are just born. I'm sorry, but it's so hard. Dr. Izzadeen Abouleish in 2009, during one of the so-called incursions by the IDF, had lost 3 of his daughters and a niece because of a mistake by the IDF tank firing. Instead of coming out and yelling and screaming and cursing the Israelis, while he still had the blood of his children on him, he was asking for peace and coexistence. And this is extraordinary. The dignity of the Palestinians just amazes me. He's not the only Palestinian I know who's like this. And so we thought it was only fitting to invite him, to give the first President's Award to him, and also invite him to be our graduation speaker. So I want to introduce our inaugural President's Award to Dr. Izzadeen Abouleish for his extraordinary contribution to humanity by trying to make peace not only in Gaza and Israel, but all over the world. My friend, Dr. Izzadeen Abouleish.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله all the time. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Brothers and sisters, honored guests, faculty, staff, and the graduates, I am proud to be here, but most important, the proud families and guests, and most important, members of the graduating class 2024. It's my great pleasure to have this honor and have the opportunity to speak to you. I am so moved and thrilled to be here. But most important, I would like this dedication, this honor, to dedicate it to the loved ones, to the ones who are silent and we don't know them and they can't talk, to those who are not with us today, and with me, my parents, my wife, my daughters, and to those who are suffering the horror, the pain, and the murder in silence because of injustice and oppression. Let me start by congratulating you and your families as you begin your professional life. It's a promising gathering with a strong belief in the presence of hope. There are serious challenges facing us as individuals and the world. But as a Palestinian who was born, raised, and lived in Jabalia refugee camp in the Gaza Strip, that you hear it on daily basis about Jabalia camp. My life was and continues to be a war. I was fighting the whole of my life and continue to fight just to survive and to be free in this world. But as life increased my aches, my pain, and suffering at the same time, life amplified my maturity, awareness, strength, and will not allow all the difficulties and the silence of the world to kill our dignity and our dreams as people in this world. I found myself in a life as a challenging, as a raging, wild ocean. But I realized that this suffering in the world, it's man-made. And what can we do to unmade it and to take responsibility and not to accept it or to give up? I learned as a physician what life and death mean when a person dies. I learned to value all life immensely and to realize that others have needs and sufferings that I wanted all of the time and will continue to alleviate through my work as a physician. Because no one knows the war as the one who lives it. As our Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish said, he who looks at the sea doesn't know the sea. He who sits on the shore doesn't know the sea. Only he who immerses himself, dives, takes risk, and forgets the sea in the sea. No one knows the suffering until they have suffered. No one knows the freedom until they have lost it. No one knows the loss until it happens. Do you know that the Palestinian mothers in Gaza, Palestinians' mothers' milk is cut off from their breasts due to fear, starvation, thirst, and the unbearable losses? I saw the hope in the newborn baby. As a gynecologist, I delivered. And I saw the killing of my daughters, my niece. When the Israeli tank bombarded my house, the killing of my loved daughters wasn't the last. I said it at that time, if I could know that my daughters were the last sacrificed in the way to peace, then I will accept it. Sadly, they were not the last. They are just numbers, Palestinians, and I will never accept it for any human being to be just statistics. People are people and they have souls, they have no names, they have parents, they have plans, they have life. It's shame to think of a human being as just statistics. It's unethical, it's immoral. And those who are repeating it, they are complicit in the crime. Lately, with what we call the war, it's not a war, it's a genocide. Nephews, nieces, and tens of my family members were killed. Just the other day, my eldest sister, who was trapped after they bombarded her house and her son was killed 2 weeks ago, she stayed at the home, and just lately they succeeded to get the body, which was dissolved in 2 weeks, to be buried in the streets. The streets in Gaza Strip, every meter is stained with the Palestinian blood. Every meter in Gaza Strip became a grave. Even the graves were not saved. The first thing when I go home to Gaza, I go to visit the graves of my daughters. Before going to my home, even the graves of my daughters and our people were destroyed. Even the dead, they are not safe or secure. But most important, ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون. They are not dead and they will never ever die. And that's the oath I gave to my daughters when I saw them killed in front of me and it was broadcasted live. I swore to God and to my daughters, I will never rest. I will never relax. I will never forget. I will never give up. I fully believe one day I will meet them. I want to meet them with the big gift, and that gift is the justice for them, the freedom for the Palestinian people, and that their holy souls to be kept alive in this world. So I am determined and I am accountable just only to God and to my daughters. They ask me always, what did you do for us? I say to them, I am here for you. And I am determined that the holy souls of innocent people will be injected, to be transfused into a vein of hope, life, dignity, freedom, and rights for all in our world. And not to say never again, just lip service. It's time for accountability of the perpetrators, of the killers, of the complicit people who are participating in the genocide in Palestine and around the world. We are fed up with these values that they are sending to us. We need the people to walk the talk, not just to give us words, democracy, or other words. There is no problem in the international law. The international law is there to bring justice in our world, equality and freedom. The problem is the international community and the international administrations, which are biased, indifferent, and complicit about what is happening in our world. It's not democracy. It's hypocrisy and mediocrity that we live in. It's time for the world to stand up and to make the change they need. The killing and the death don't hurt the dead or murdered. It hurts the living. And if the murdered, if the killed, if the weak, and the victim can't cry or speak, it's the moral, ethical, and the human duty and the responsibility of the living and loving to act and to speak out for them. And that's what we need. Because for any human being, justice and the freedom are essential and crucial to our dignity to be fully human. What about Gaza Strip that I have been last August, last July? Every year I go there. It's my home. It's my memory. It's my life. It's my people. Everything I have there. Gaza Strip before what we call it, October 7, as if the world was created October 7. Out of 5 children, 4 were mentally disordered. I do a lot of research because we speak about PTSD. Said, what is PTSD? Palestinians are under continuous, persistent, cumulative, intergenerational, and transgenerational stress disorder. That's what is happening in our world. Gaza Strip before October 7 was hopeless, lifeless, jobless, lightless, freeless. It was a hell, but now it's a ghost. The other day, I was looking on the TV about Jabalia camp, where it's my home. I can't recognize the streets. Where is it? It's a mass murder, mass destruction, forced mass displacement, and mass suffering. It was Gaza. It's no longer Gaza. Now Gaza is homeless, waterless, foodless, healthless, childless, even children. Children, they are killed. 19,000 orphans in Gaza. I know why they target women and the children, because the Palestinian woman is the hero, is the one, and these children will never give up, and they will be leaders of the future. It's parentless and schoolless. Freedom must not stop at the borders of Palestine and the Palestinian people. We succeeded as Palestinians and will continue to succeed to make life from death and spread hope from pain and suffering. We are a living nation and will continue to live, and this stems from our strong faith in God. When all left us alone to face the atrocities, Eisenhower said to those who are complicit in what is happening, a nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. And they reached spiritual death. We live in a world spiritually bankrupt. I can add it, that spiritual and the human bankruptcy. War is a genocide. War is a torture. It's a propaganda. It's dishonesty and the slavery of humanity. War and injustice are not to be documented or to be observed and to be watched. They are to be prevented. In this time of increasing, challenging, and worsening crisis, as a human, as a Muslim, I continue to believe in it. And the people, after what I faced, they asked me, from where do you get your strength? I say it proudly. I am a Muslim with deep faith, because I believed from that moment why I was saved when I was with my children. God knows, and we don't know. And only God to test the believers. And the reward will be equal to the test. And we will continue to be determined with this faith. The world is endemic with violence, injustice, fear, and hatred. To endure this world, we need the truth, justice, and action. And you, as a new graduate, you are here to learn, be enlightened, and see the truth, and act to bring justice. Look around, ask, learn, connect, act. What happened to us? Our enemy in our world is our ignorance, and the cure is knowledge. Ignorance is darkness, and knowledge is the light. We can't equalize between the one who knows and the one who doesn't. And when God sent our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he sent him with a book, and asked him the first ayah in Quran, read, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم. A book to bring people out of darkness into the light by the permission of their Lord. We must study and know our religion as Muslims, to advocate for our faith The most important thing is to understand our religion accurately and to practice it. And that's what we need. So science is important in our life and education. And for me, what helped me to get rid of the misery as a Palestinian refugee, my parents that I am proud of, they were not educated. They were illiterate. But they realized, and Palestinian people, they realized someone can oppress, can occupy, can kill. And the only way to get rid of that is through education. So we have to succeed from nothing. The word worship in Quran was mentioned 274 times. Doers, the people who are acting, it was 359 times. But science equals both, 856 times. So knowledge and science is a strength. It's a weapon to face the injustices and the atrocities in our world. That's why I succeeded in my life. And I don't believe in impossible things. The word impossible is not in my vocabulary. From Jabalia camp to Cairo University to get my MD, to London to specialize in obstetrics and gynecology, to work in many countries and to be the first Palestinian doctor to practice medicine and to teach the Israeli doctors. And that then to many other countries, to subspecialties, to Harvard University, where I am now. But most important, I will never forget from where did I come. I will never forget that I am a Palestinian refugee from Jabalia camp. And that's the message I tell my children. Don't forget from where did you come. I wrote my book, I Shall Not Hate, because the people, they were expecting me to be full of hatred if I was afflicted. With this hatred, I will never be here. Standing stronger, more determined, and I will never accept to be a victim more than once. We are victims as Palestinians of the Nakba, of the killing, of the suffering, but still we are steadfast, we are determined, because the march and the way is still in front of us. And it should never be with hatred. It's with wisdom, with courage, with determination, and not to give up. Because some people, they think patience is a weakness. Patience is a strength. And we are patient, but we will never give up until we reach our goals. In memory of my daughters, I established Daughters for Life Foundation because I am in debt only to my mother, my father, my wife, and my daughters. And will never let this tragedy, and Palestinians will never allow this mass destruction to be the end of our lives. We can't allow it to control or defeat us. And who are women? Women are the ones who give life. Women are the ones who nurture life. That's why we need in this world educated, healthy, strong women as the Palestinian women who are there, who are fighting for their children. Today, you are graduates and you are the next generation of leaders. And it's you who will have to bring fresh ideas and solutions to the world's challenges. Faith is the foundation on which we build our work and knowledge. Faith gives us the strength and motivation to continue striving and work despite the challenges. Faith in God and His ability makes us confident that our efforts will not be wasted and that God will reward us for our good deeds. Let us be certain that knowledge, work, struggle, and faith to be essential components for achieving success. Now it's your turn, and we must hand over the torch and the baton to you. Congratulations again. I came here because I believe in you. I believe in you. Go in confidence, with faith, hope, without fear. The future is yours, and the world is waiting for you. But don't forget, from where did you come? Don't forget your professors, your family, your community, to make the world a better one for all of us. Thank you, and God bless you.
Dr. Izzuddin, you have been nominated 3 times for a Nobel Peace Prize. But wallahi, I say to you, you are far bigger and better than a Nobel Peace Prize. And your ajr and the real prize, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give you. May Allah bless you. May Allah make you a role model that you already are for all of us. May Allah give you sabr and comfort, and may Allah reunite you with your family forever and ever and ever in Firdaus al-A'la, inshallah. Now we move on to the time of the program that you have all been waiting for. Will the 2023 candidates for the degree Master of Arts in Islamic Studies please rise? Dr. Yunus, the following candidates, having presented acceptable entrance requirements, having successfully completed the requirements of their core courses and concentrations, and as such, having completed the stated graduation requirements of the Islamic Seminary of America, are hereby recommended for the degree Master of Arts in Islamic Studies.
By the authority of the Islamic Seminary of America Board, as registered with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, I hereby confer the degree of Master of Arts in Islamic Studies with all the honors, rights, and privileges attached thereto. Congratulations.
Will the 2024 candidates for the degree Master of Arts in Islamic Studies please rise? Dr. Yunus, the following candidates, having presented acceptable entrance requirements, having successfully completed the requirements for their core courses and concentrations, and as such, having completed the stated graduation requirements of the Islamic Seminary of America, are hereby recommended for the degree Master of Arts in Islamic Studies.
By the authority of the Islamic Seminary of America Board, as registered with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, I hereby confer the degree of Master of Arts in Islamic Studies with all the honors, rights, and privileges attached thereto. Congratulations.
MashaAllah.
I will now be calling each of the graduates individually, starting with the class of 2023. Fatima Razvi. Omar Al-Ani. Anwar Arafat. I will now be calling the graduates of the class of 2024 individually. Nosheen Khan. Rifat Zaman. Eugene Abdul Muhaymin Priester III.
Assalamu alaikum and congratulations to the class of 2023 and the class of 2024. It is my job today to give you your charge as you go forward. And so I would like you to be able to remember it, so we shall use the acronym TISA. The first thing I want you to carry forward as you go forth with your newly acquired master's degrees is tahajjud. And please don't forget that. It will give you the energy to carry forth the work that you need to do. And without it, you will find yourselves depleted and not able to carry forth that which needs to be done. I went back and forth on this one. I think we'll go with an English word, intention. Intention is like a toddler. If you set the toddler in the middle of the living room and you turn your back on it, where does the toddler go? Into the toilet with your Apple Watch. So hold on to your intention every single day. Every time you do something, make sure it's not for fame, make sure it's not for your nafs, make sure it's not for something else. Watch your intention and make the things that you do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. S. Now in Arabic, we have a sin and a sad. So here again, I thought a lot about which word can I give you to carry forth that will really help you the most. And I think the one I'm going to say is sabr. The word sabr has a bad rap in a way because we think of it as something that teaches us how to wait. But I want you to carry it with you as an action, as a thing that you need to do every single day in order to get up for tahajjud, in order to carry forth an intention that's going to work for you, and also in order to do the next one, which is the letter A. So tahajjud, intention, and sabr, and A is akhlaq, or how we behave. All of your actions, all of the work that you do, everything that you do, you now represent the very first and second class of TISA. You now represent a change, an ummah that will grow, inshallah, and will find victory in every meaning of that word, in every corner and space of this dunya, and even more important, to see that reflected in all of our akhirah. So, carry forth akhlaq. Tahajjud, every morning when you wake up and you miss tahajjud, I want you to remember me. You did not carry forth the charge on that day. So you try again the next day, because you're going to make your intention for the next day and have sabr on that thing so you can grow in akhlaq and be the believing academic that we've raised you to be. Thank you so much. There is a short dua which I would like us all to learn. Allahumma ihdina wa ihdi bina al-ibad wal-bilad. Ya Allah, guide us and guide through us lands and people. This is my dua always for the work we do here at TISA and for all of you. Allahumma ihdina wa ihdi bina al-ibad wal-bilad wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Habibina Muhammad. Let's begin your new steps with the Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawm ad-Din. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Congratulations. Assalamu alaikum.
الله 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 لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله ما مد لخير الخلق يدا أحد إلا وبه سعيدا وبذاك مددت إليه يدي وبذلك كنت من السعداء الله 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 لا إله إلا الله